and I don't think there are enough people in the country that are like Arthur to make it $1 billion movie. These people don't have the kind of money to be spending on the movies every weekend to see it 3 4 times. It was a hit because the story and the music and the cinematography and Joaquin's performance were all absolutely incredible.
All right. Okay. Gonzo. How are you doing?
Pretty
Which
good, honestly.
what movies have you seen in this year that has piqued your interest? And yeah,
Well, I took a lot of flack for this one, but I actually liked Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Most of the comments on that one were really pissed off. They, bitching that the book was better, or it didn't do justice, or somebody else should have made the movie besides Guy Ritchie. But I mean, that one was pretty good, honestly. I didn't have any huge quarrels with it. I did not realize it would be that diabolical to talk about, but apparently it stirs up a lot of controversy. Um, that one was pretty fun. It was kind of more of a lighthearted affair, and kind of like dark humor sort of thing. Dune 2 was good. If you're gonna do a sequel, don't do what Joker did. Do what Dune did, because Dune made a good sequel. Joker made a horrendous sequel.
what,
Terrifying, terrifyingly bad.
we would definitely go into Joker 2 a bit more, but Dune 2, let's talk about that because that was actually I have not been the biggest Dune person. I've I had to watch the first Dune, I think 1970. I'm forgetting the year.
Oh yeah, that was like in the 80s. Yeah, don't.
Yeah. I think that
That's
was the
not gonna
first
help
one.
you.
I know it was like I realized it was a waste of a watch when I went back to watch the first Dune of this year, the
Yeah.
2021 version. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, there was no point in me to even watch the 19th century because it's not doing anything. But yeah, in regards to Dune 2, why do you think that was such a hit?
Because it's very faithful to the book, and they're not trying to do anything too crazy with the changes. Because naturally, you need to have some changes in an adaptation, like Lord of the Rings, even seen as like the most faithful trilogy of all time to the books, but it still changes things because he's got to fit things for time, where you have to make something a little bigger than it was in the book, or make something happen quicker. But it's fairly faithful. They did a pretty good job with that, and it's not trying to be other series. So they're not trying to take Dune and say, well, it inspired Star Wars. Star Wars makes a lot of money, therefore let's try to make these like Star Wars. No, they just pretty much stuck with the book, and I think that any deviance was just for simplicity, or to keep it on screen a little easier. So I think that if you also never read the book, what makes it good is that it's a different type of sci-fi story on screen, and it's ambitious. So everything they're doing with Greg Fraser on cinematography, with the IMAX format, they're trying to make everything ambitious with it. They're not trying to be safe and careful. It's not boring, so it's anything but. It's sure it might be a little slow, might be a little less action packed than you are expecting, but between all the elements that they were able to put together for it, I think in the end it's a win. And Hans Zimmer's score is just completely new territory for him. He was creative with it. He went into music that he wasn't familiar with before, and he came out with an incredible score that's going to be timeless, and people are going to remember it for a long time.
Right, and make sure you check out his YouTube channel. I'm glad that you done because he's also on Spotify as well. That's where I actually found his Gonzo's reviews, and and like I said, I love your work. I love your work. In regards to it. So I gotta I gotta ask. I gotta ask in regards to the movies that are out so far. Joker 2. Why are people hating on this movie? I haven't seen it yet, by the way. So I don't know. I I don't usually listen to people, but if there is a resounding amount of people that are saying it sucks, I might not want to waste my time because my time is precious. You know what I mean? Like I can never. Is
You're
is the only co- is the only co- commodity I can never get back. So unless I maybe find a way to hack time or something. I don't. But why are people hating this movie so badly? What has Joker 2 done to people? Because the first one was such a hit, and with the way that even you can, it was always going to be this natural progression. So why the hatred?
It has the same audience score in Rotten Tomatoes as the critic score, which is low 30s. And that only really happens if a movie is truly dog crap. So part of the problem here is that the first one was such a big hit for reasons that the studio didn't want it to be a hit. So Warner Brothers and by extension, the makers of the first film were, I think, kind of angry that it made $1 billion, not because of the money, but because they assumed that the kinds of people who were watching that film, enjoying it, making it a huge hit, were people that were like the main character. And I don't think there are enough people in the country that are like Arthur to make it $1 billion movie. These people don't have the kind of money to be spending on the movies every weekend to see it 3-4 times. It was a hit because the story and the music and the cinematography and Joaquin's performance were all absolutely incredible, but also because it had rewatchability value where people wanted to know more about the story, and there were enough clues in there that made you question the entire time whether it was a real straightforward story you were being told or if he was imagining everything in his head. And the overwhelming consensus on that is that there seems to be a mixture of both. There are things objectively going on in that story, but a lot of it's in his head. And it's kind of a fun little thing to try and go through and find which parts of it were made up. So obviously, I think everybody's agreed that the girlfriend, him having that relationship, completely made up in his head, even though the woman existed and had a kid and lived in his apartment building. So things like that would go. And then when he was on the show earlier in the film, it was very clear he was a dream sequence, imagining himself on it as he watched it with his mom in her bedroom. So, but then there were later scenes where he blows off Robert De Niro's head, where you're wondering, did that actually happen, or is he imagining that too? It's like it's very interesting film to try and go through, and it was well written, and the score is haunting and beautiful. And there's just so many good things to like about it. But I guess for some reason, the media made this weird firestorm leading up to that film's release about how there was going to be a terrorist attacks at the theaters and crazy incels are going to all dress as Joker and stab people. And that never happened, but it still made $1 billion. So obviously, men, women, children who like to sneak into R-rated movies were all enjoying it. And it wasn't just a big incel uprising. It's a fake manufactured drama. But then the second one takes everything that people loved about the first one and just throws it out the window and basically mocks the audience to their face. They made it a musical, but not the kind of fun musical that people like to see. From what I heard, from some clips I saw, all the songs are very annoying. Nothing was really like classy. There were no like classic hits basically, and if there was one, it was because they took a song that was already good. Like the trailers had, When You're Smiling. That's just a song that people have liked for decades. It's not, any original work done was not good or interesting. They were just replaying old songs and doing it in an annoying way. And I don't know how far into spoilers I want to get, but honestly, with how terribly this one's tracking, I think nobody's going to see it anyway. So I'm comfortable to say that they kill Arthur after Harley says he's not the real Joker, and someone else paints a smile on his face after stabbing him and kind of runs off. And yeah, it just seems like a cluster. And people were saying that Lady Gaga ruined it. Other people are saying she was underused because she was only in like half an hour of it. Either way you slice it, they came unseriously to a sequel that they apparently didn't want to make, but they had a blank check to make because of the $1 billion on the first one. The first one only had a budget of $50 million. So if you go in for $1 billion, they made over $1 billion in profits before you take away what they had to pay to the theaters for distribution and for marketing. It almost made $1 billion in pure profit, and that never happens. Usually films only make like 500-600 million profit at the end of the day, even if they made $1 or $2 billion, because usually it's only the big expensive ones that get that much. This one was a cheap movie that made over $1 billion. So he had a blank check to do whatever he wanted with the second one. And apparently what he wanted to do was ruin it so that he wouldn't have to make any more or keep making them, because even the most ardent fans of the first one couldn't stand this one from the early viewings. And from the release numbers I'm seeing, it's not even going to make probably about like half of what the opening weekend was. It's going to barely make 1/3 of the opening weekend of an R-rated first movie that had a media buzz about, how dangerous it would be to go see it. So
Yeah.
that is insane to me. And that's after a $200 million media marketing blitz. It's a catastrophic failure. It'll be studied in film school for generations of what not to do with a sequel.
What? Yeah. Wow. So
Yeah.
I did not envision the minute that they announced that they were going to do a musical. I already lost interest because I was like, "How are you going to pull that off for me?" I mean, like the first one definitely wasn't even a musical. It wasn't even. It was a proper drama. It was a proper. It felt real. It felt like it was it wasn't even a comic book movie. It just felt like it could, you can even watch it and interpret it as a guy going through psychosis in his in his dorm room or something, believing he probably read a couple of comic books, smoked too much joints, and then just hallucinated that whole thing. And that would pass as a movie. That would literally pass as the movie. But for some reason, this departure. I mean, I'm surprised. Like I'm surprised. Why do you think that they were trying to wreck their own movie? Because that's a very bold take that you just made there. Like, why would they try and wreck it? Like, why would you not want money? Don't they like money?
Yeah, in terms of the director, I think he made his money and he gets paid to do it anyway. So he kind of already has it. The only people really risking anything are the producers, the people who put up the money, and the studio, because they're the only ones that need a big return to really get paid for the project. All of the down payments, and it's all, Arthur, Lady Gaga, Joaquin Phoenix, they're already paid. So Todd Phillips, he's already got his money. They don't need big box office returns to have a big paycheck from this. So the problem is then, who made the decisions and why did they make these decisions? I don't know if it's I can't sit here and honestly say that it's a case of he took too big of a risk, because I don't think he took any real risks in the second one that he didn't already take in the first one that were better. He took a huge risk making an R-rated comic book film, and he won. He took a huge risk making it basically, $50 million, a cheap film, not big flashy special effects. He took a huge risk by not making it in the Batman lore, like, properly. He made it his own thing in the real world in a way. All these big risks he took the first time around. Honestly, he just folded in this one. So the reason I think that he sabotaged the film is that I don't think he wants to make more. He said in an interview that he really doesn't want to make any more after this one anyway. He's done with comic book movies in the DC universe, was his quote. So I think he was just tired of it. He didn't know that the first one was going to be that great. And I also just think that he and Joaquin Phoenix just got too crazy with their ideas for the second one. And what's really sad is that a musical still could have been successful with Joker, because you could always have had a situation where he's in Arkham after committing the crimes from the first one, and we're trying to go into his mind more and explore more, and maybe music is just kind of his way of expressing himself in the next one? Or what if the first one, what if it turns out the crimes were in his head and he's still just out there in the world? And the second one is about how he tries, he imagines in the first one a stand-up career. The second one could have been about how he either imagines or attempts a music career. And he could fail that miserably too. And then he can meet Harley. She could teach him how to sing, whatever. You can have a whole arc with that. But I think the reason they sabotaged it, honestly, in the end, is that they hated the audience that came to see it. They hated the fact that it was, a bit more male than female. And I think they just assumed that for some reason that people that came to see it were glorifying or idolizing the main character, which is honestly made no sense, because people enjoy villain movies, they enjoy anti-hero movies without becoming those anti-heroes or without wanting people to be the same way or live up to it, because nothing happened from the first one. Nobody went out like stabbing or sadly nobody went out and took out Stephen Colbert or anything as a result. Like, Joker did it, I'll do it to a talk night host too. Like, no, nobody did anything. So what's really sad is now we're still stuck with these unfunny guys like Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert, and the movie was successful, but it didn't really change society much at all. People just enjoyed it and went about their day. And I think that honestly, just the second one's sabotage just stems from audience hatred. They hated the audience. They wanted to spite them. The studio were the only ones that were really losing anything. I think the people who made it just didn't want to keep making more and thought, well, if I make a really shitty one, then I won't have to make any more. It'll flop and we'll move on. It's maybe it is a bold statement.
They'll finally let me go.
But, yeah, I mean, I just truly believe that they did not want it to be successful. If they did want it to be successful, it would have been a bit more similar to the first one, or at least would have been good. And they also didn't test screen this one for audiences, which makes me think that they knew the entire time that they weren't going to care what the audience thought or said, and they weren't going to tailor it to anything the audience would hope for. So it's unprecedented in the modern age, unless you're making a super secret project, to not have any test screenings. That was honestly the biggest giveaway for me, that they didn't care about the audience this time.
Random Girl says, I'm a huge Batman fan, with the Joker being my second favorite, and I have no interest in his movie. Damn, that's tough. That is tough.
Yeah.
And also, like,
this opening weekend was a disaster.
You don't like spoiling things, so you even made up a story to like throw me out and be like, nope, you guys don't. But in this one, he's like, nope, fuck it, spoiling it.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just laying it out there because I can't recommend that people waste their money on it. To be honest, if it's free, like in the months to come, sure, I'll try not to spoil it for like everybody I meet, but if in case they want to watch it free. But you don't get it mixed up. You're watching a dumpster fire to see how funny the failure is. That's the truth with this one. It's a rare bird, but like it sometimes happens. Remember Napoleon last year?
Like, what do you think is right? What do you think is as well? I haven't seen that one. No, I haven't seen it.
It was one of those ones that burned me. Like, you go in expecting a great historical drama, and it's mostly, I don't even know what the right word is. I think it was mostly just like a strange form of pornography, where like most of the time it's like he's being pathetic and he's just like, it's all about his kinks. It was hardly anything about his actual, military accomplishments and historical impact. And it just wasn't historically accurate almost at all. So yeah, sometimes you just get burned. You hope for something, it's something else.
Okay. Random Girl says Infinity War. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, Infinity War. Yes, it was Infinity War. Thank you so much, Random Girl. And you've got a new subscriber. She says that cable statement just won you a new subscriber, Gonzo. By the way, I gotta ask, why do you call yourself Gonzo film? Why do you call yourself Gonzo? Like, I don't actually know, because I love your branding. By the way, your branding is actually on point. And we're going to talk about the other things that you do within this space as well. But why Gonzo? Why Gonzo film reviews? Why do you call yourself that?
It gives me a backdoor out of professionalism. So there was a journalist named Hunter S. Thompson. He worked and he wrote books like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and he wrote Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail, and he covered the Richard Nixon campaign, but he didn't do it like a professional journalist, like carefully studying details. No, he had his artist draw grotesque renderings of Nixon and his advisors and stuff, and he was just commenting on how much of a flaming dumpster file he thought that campaign was and that candidate was, and he would always just put himself into a narrative when he was doing journalism and kind of tell a story that would tell the story that he gathered from the notes and everything. So it kind of, with film reviews for me, the reason I loved his work was just from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, The Rum Diary, things like that. So when it came to film reviews and what I wanted to do, I wanted to do something where it was way more off the cuff, because it's technically a podcast, but I don't follow almost any of the rules of a podcast. And I can just kind of cover whatever I want to. So if I ever want to talk about something besides films, it's not shocking the audience beyond belief. In a way, I can, I've had political people on, I've had marijuana legalization advocates, I've talked to people from all sorts of different kind of avenues, and it just kind of gives me a little bit of leeway. I've talked to authors too, so I don't have to always be, just talking about films or TV shows. If something really interests me or bothers me, or I get an opportunity to talk to somebody, or give someone a platform that doesn't have one, or if someone wants to give me a platform that I don't have or whatever, it just gives me an opportunity to just kind of be a little bit more loose with it, with what I do. But at the end of the day, the main thing I'm going to be doing is, reviewing films. So it's kind of an homage to Hunter, but also an opportunity for me not to just have to do one thing. Yeah.
That's very smooth. That's very compelling. I actually like that. That's a lot of thought that's gone into that name. So Random Girl says, so Joaquin Phoenix is just dropping thirds. No, Joaquin Phoenix is just dropping Amber Heards. Yes, what right? He's dropping Amber Heards.
And it's really sad because he's so talented, and I know he can. I've seen him do so much better with his talents, but now it seems like he's in a phase of his career where he wants to shock people by doing things that are purposefully, I don't know what the word is, like I know it goes against your expectations, but in a bad way. Like, it's almost like he's purposely kind of middle fingering some things. Like, he didn't want to do Napoleon justice. He wanted to make fun of Napoleon. So if you go into a project with that intention, you're gonna achieve it, but at what cost? How much of the historical impact of that man do you have to ignore to boil him down to just one or two things and make him completely pathetic? Because he wasn't completely pathetic in reality. Otherwise, the world would have looked way different. Europe would have looked way different than it does today. So, if you go into a project with preconceived notions, maybe you'll come out of them with the same preconceived notions. And same for Joker. I don't think he cared if he was going to make a mockery of what he did with the first one. I truly think that he didn't. He just wanted to be as insane as possible, but not in a good way, not with the character, just to see how far he could push our boundaries of what we'll watch with Joker 2. So I don't know why he's had this streak, because he had a streak before where he was incredible in almost everything he was in. And, he still puts in good performances. He had a good movie in 2021. Gosh, I don't remember the name of it. I'll take a look, but it was good.
Joaquin Phoenix movies. Is it Come On, Come On? Is that a movie that you're referring to?
Yes, that was the one. Thank you. Yeah, that was really good. It was small. It was sweet. It was human.
Yeah, he won best actor. Well, nominated, I should say. He was nominated. Oh, he did win. Yeah, he won it.
Yeah, it was incredible, but I think he won it for Joker as well. He won an Academy Award for the first Joker. He's not going to win one for the second, but yeah, I just don't know why he's having this streak, because normally he is so good and he only attaches himself to projects that he cares about and takes seriously. So it confuses me just as much as it confuses her.
I like the term was her 2014 her.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we are such nerds. So right, I got to show you this. So in regards to, because it is quite unstructured the way that you do your podcast. In regards to that conversation that you had with, I'm surprised. I was very surprised. That piqued my interest. You know, the conversation that you had with is it Martha Bueno? Something Bueno?
Yeah.
Is that her name? Martha Bueno?
Yep.
In regards to the legalization of MJ. Tell me about that. How did that even come along? Like, how did you even get the idea to do something like that? How did you get in contact with her? How did that? Yeah. Like, walk me through. What happened there?
She was honestly talking about a proposition in Florida, and sometimes, honestly, propositions in United States that people can vote on. It's usually a yes or no, but oftentimes it's a loaded bag, and it comes with a lot of things that you would not want normally. Sometimes if a proposition is put forward, most people would assume you're for it because, oh, you want it to be legalized, right? Well, this is a yes, no, you can legalize it here. Oftentimes it's the fine print says something else, or it'll lead to some other issues or control by certain industries or government. So sometimes you actually want to say no to that proposition because you want a better one. So I think I was intrigued because she was posting about a certain Florida proposition, and I wanted to learn more about it. I honestly did not know much about it. I don't live in Florida, but I am an advocate for recreational and medical in the United States and wherever else possible if people want it. An overwhelming majority of United States citizens want it. It's about 70% across the country, most polls. So honestly, I think it's time here. And sure, state by state, we could do it that way. But in general, I think federally, they need to get out of it. The federal government needs to stop with its ban because that'll allow the states to handle it on a case-by-case basis. But yeah, she was posting about it on X, so formerly Twitter. So I was, I followed her. I asked her about it. I asked if she wanted to talk about it more, and yeah, she agreed to put a whole hour into it. So I was really honored by that. It was sweet, and I was able to learn a lot from her. And she taught me about what was going on with that particular proposition, and a lot of propaganda that is put out by certain corporations or government officials that want to control certain substances. And sometimes a lot of things they say about risk analysis benefits are not true. So for me, it was entirely a learning experience, and it was just an opportunity for me to do something else. Like I said, I want to have the chance sometimes to branch off and not just do film reviews. But that one was a chance for me to just try out a cool interview and sit down with someone who is really passionate about something and let me and viewers learn about what was going on there in that particular situation and what the consequences were from it.
So in regards to your channel, what can we look forward to like in the coming year? Because we are going into, can I call it harvesting season? Like this is a big, this is going to be a big time for content creators, which is usually winter time and the fall. Like a lot of people are indoors. They're going to watch more of their stuff. What can we expect from you?
Well, I think the big one is I was saving the Beetlejuice 2 review for Halloween because I figured that it was released a bit early. I would have dropped it on Halloween personally, but that one's coming near Halloween. I also have a Black Sails review because that TV show was recently put on Netflix and it's given a new life to it. It's always been popular, but I mean, I think now it has a chance to really blow up. And while it's never going to get like renewed for season 5 or beyond because it was a prequel to Treasure Island, I do think that enough pressure could be really cool, and maybe push the creators to consider a Treasure Island film with the cast or some of the cast members. I mean, it's a long shot, but I mean, it would be really cool. I'm dropping that. I'm probably just going to do a summary video of Joker 2 spoilers discussion. Like, for anybody that wants to come in and just talk about like what the hell happened. I'll probably just do a summary. I'm not gonna review it to the fullest extent. I don't think it deserves that. But yeah, there's some interesting things coming out. There are some things this winter coming out, actually. So we have Gladiator 2 in November. I'm going to review that when that comes out. And I'm also going to be doing that Lord of the Rings animated film that's coming out around Christmas. That's the War of the Rohirrim. So that one should be pretty interesting. We'll see how that goes. Because Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh, I believe they produced it. So we'll see how it turns out. I mean, I'm not expecting anything close to, a direct homage to the Jackson trilogy, but hopefully it's not as horrible as the Amazon Lord of the Rings adaptation, because season 2 I'm hearing is way worse than season 1 in terms of what's the word, faithfulness to the books. I mean, they had Elrond kissing his grandmother for the love of Pete. Like, did you not read the stories? Like, what is she, his mother-in-law, grandmother-in-law, something like that? Like, it's a family member, all right? If they had done the research, they would have known that Elrond was related to Galadriel. And I guess they didn't do their research because they were making out in season 2. So, yay.
But yeah, there's so that's news to me. So, wow, they misinterpreted, and not misinterpreted, because that would imply that they read it and they just did it on the so, oh wow! So this
I don't think any Amazon executives read any Tolkien in their life.
So wait, is this the Rings of Power then? The Rings of Power, yeah.
Yeah, season 1 was okay. It had some really bad duds at the end of the year, but it also had a couple good episodes. But season 2 seems to just be mostly a disaster. So in terms of like faithfulness, I'm sure for people that haven't read the books or something or don't know anything about Lord of the Rings, it's just a fun Amazon Game of Thrones type sort of show. But for most people, I think it's like massively off the mark from what they were hoping for $1 billion television show based on Tolkien's work. And they did fire the Tolkien scholar before season 1 aired. I'm not surprised because he probably was telling them, hey, this isn't going to work. And they said, screw you. So yeah, they that might be another summary one. But yeah, fun projects coming down the pike. I'm pretty interested in some of the things that are coming out, even though I'm very disappointed that some of the things that have come out have been, missed the mark a lot. The Bob Marley film was good. That early in the year. I know a lot of people may have missed it, but it was good.
I still have not seen. I still have not seen the Bob Marley movie. But it's not just him as well. I think there was a biopic on Amy Winehouse as well, wasn't it? This year that was out.
Oh yeah, well that was like I wonder if that one was Back in Black or something, or
yeah,
there's something.
I read something. I don't know if
In the Black
it's come out or if it's already been out, but I knew.
I think it's been out.
Yeah, okay. Like something has been in the works. Like, so hopefully I'm not hallucinating something. I'm not hallucinating.
Okay, yeah. That one's called Back to Black. Interestingly, it did get a 35 on Rotten Tomatoes. I guess the critics didn't like it very much.
Oh.
That one came out this summer. Yeah.
Okay.